In this video, I'll explain why sleep cycles, not caffeine, are the strongest driver of attention, mood, and cognitive stability. You know the feeling. It's 2:17 p.m. You've had the coffee, you've eaten, but your thinking feels slow. Your patience is thin, and you're wondering why your brain just can't keep up. Most people label this as stress, burnout, or lack of motivation. But clinically, a far more common reason is this. Your sleep architecture never completed the cycle that stabilizes alertness and emotional regulation. I'm Dr. Sanil Rege, consultant psychiatrist and educator. I work with sleep disorders on a daily basis. I also teach clinicians how brain function translates into behavior. By the end of this video, you'll understand what a sleep cycle actually does to the brain, how it gets disrupted, and how to tell whether the problem is your sleep. Most sleep advice focuses on habits, hygiene, or tracking data. How many hours you slept, how many times you woke, what your watch says your sleep score was. But none of that tells you the one thing that actually determines how your brain will function the next day. Did you complete the right sleep cycles? Because a sleep cycle is not rest. It's an active neurological process where the brain resets alertness systems, stabilizes emotional circuits, and recalibrates cognitive control. And when that cycle is fragmented, shortened, or mistimed, you can sleep for 8 hours and still wake up exhausted. And this doesn't always feel like tiredness. It can feel like poor focus, irritability, low stress tolerance, and unstable energy. A quick disclaimer, this is an educational video, not personalized advice. If you're struggling with sleep, daytime sleepiness, snoring, or relying on stimulants to function, speak to your doctor. So here's the core idea. We often talk about sleep as if it's a single thing, but the brain treats sleep like a sequence, a timetable of tasks. And the tasks that make you feel stimulated the next day are not evenly spread across the night. They cluster in cycles. So if you wake up unrefreshed, the question isn't only how many hours did you sleep? It's, did your brain complete the tasks it needed to complete? So let's start off with what a sleep cycle actually is. A typical cycle runs around 90 to 120 minutes. Across a night, you repeat that cycle multiple times. Each cycle moves through non-REM sleep, non-rapid eye movement sleep, lighter to deeper, and then REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. And the proportion shifts. So early night, more deep non-REM sleep. Late night, more REM sleep. That matters because the stimulant effect that people want, the feeling of stable alertness and cognitive strength, is strongly linked to deep non-REM sleep, especially early in the night. So a quick tour of the stages. We have 3 stages of NREM sleep. N1 is the transition, where one's easy to wake. N2 is a stabilizing stage, dominated by spindles and K complexes. They help protect sleep and support memory handling. And then we have N3, the deep, slow wave sleep. This one is the big one for restoration. And recent evidence tells us that this is the phase where the glymphatic system is most active. This is the garbage truck of the brain, which removes toxins and amyloids. And then we have REM sleep. This is an active brain state where emotional processing is high. So if we zoom out and think about these phases and ask the question, if I wake up feeling foggy, it might be because I'm waking up at the wrong point in the cycle, or because the cycle is being fragmented. We'll talk about how to test that later. But first, what makes deep sleep stimulant-like? In deep non-REM sleep, the brain shifts into a mode that allows downscaling of unnecessary synaptic activity, so less internal noise. 2, restoration of prefrontal efficiency, which translates to better cognitive control. And number 3, reduction of adenosine pressure. This is the accumulating sleep drive signal. So what deep sleep does is it supports a more stable baseline in systems that govern attention, motivation, emotional control, and stress reactivity. So think about it as deep sleep tuning the machinery required for the following day. So rather than feeling pushed into wakefulness, you feel available to wakefulness. That's the important distinction. And in clinic, this is why a patient may say, I'm sleeping 8 hours, but still live in a state of constant cognitive load. But adequate deep sleep can shift that state. So deep sleep is one half of the equation. The other half is REM. So what does REM sleep do? REM sleep tunes emotional control and cognitive flexibility. REM sleep is the phase in which we dream. Clinically, REM sleep matters because it influences emotional calibration, threat learning and updating, associative thinking, creative thinking, and the ability to shift perspective. And all this happens outside our conscious awareness. So if REM is disrupted or compressed, or if they have what's known as restless REM sleep, they will often find themselves feeling more reactive, have a lower frustration tolerance, everything feels harder to handle, and less cognitive flexibility and more rigid thinking. So sometimes when we feel irritable or fragile during the day, it's not always about a mindset issue. Sometimes it's about what happened the previous night. Sometimes it's a REM issue. Now here's a key point that often gets missed. If your sleep timing cuts off the later part of the night, which is REM dominant, you may disproportionately reduce REM-rich cycles, meaning you might be stealing emotional stability to gain early productivity. Think about it as a trade-off. So where do stimulants and caffeine feature here? Because you might say, well, it doesn't matter because I can use caffeine or stimulants to get me through the day. The issue is they don't solve the core issue. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. Adenosine is part of the body's sleep pressure system, what's known as the homeostatic system. It accumulates with wakefulness. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine builds up. So caffeine does not create energy. It reduces the brain's ability to register fatigue. Now that can be useful, but it doesn't restore what the sleep cycles are meant to do. It's a very similar approach with stimulants. That can be useful to a certain extent, but if sleep cycles continue to be fragmented or affected, the stimulants and the caffeine loses its effect over time. Now this brings us to the practical clinical lens. What are the factors that can break these adaptive REM and non-REM cycles? This isn't all exhaustive. I've covered the evaluation of insomnia in this video here, but let's cover some important points. Let's start off with a broad label, insomnia. This could be difficulty initiating sleep, maintaining sleep, or early awakening. Insomnia requires a broad evaluation in itself. So factors such as obstructive sleep apnea, where there are repeated arousals, oxygen fluctuations, can prevent stable deep sleep and full cycle completion. Psychological disorders such as depression, often associated with altered REM timing and density, along with disrupted continuity. Next, ADHD and circadian delay. Substances such as alcohol, cannabis, or sedatives, these can change sleep architecture. People might fall asleep faster, but cycles can become less efficient or more fragmented. Prescribed medications, antidepressants, stimulants, antipsychotic medications, beta blockers, all of these can alter REM sleep, sleep continuity, or change arousal thresholds. Sometimes in helpful ways, sometimes not. Nutritional deficiencies, vitamin B12, folate, iron deficiency, all of these affect neurotransmitter production and can hence impact sleep because sleep cycles rely on a range of neurotransmitters, dopamine, noradrenaline, GABA, etc. And finally, we've also got to think about the environment, light, the bed, sleep hygiene, and shift work. There are several other factors that one needs to take into account in the evaluation of sleep. So these are some of the factors, biological, psychological, and environmental factors that can impact cycles of REM and non-REM. But let me take you to a simple sleep evaluation. I'll give you 5 questions that matter. So if someone tells you, I sleep 7 to 8 hours, but I'm exhausted, ask these 5 questions to get an understanding of their sleep status. First, how long does it take you to fall asleep? If it's consistently more than 30 to 45 minutes, sleep onset may be a problem. Second, how many awakenings, and are they long? Are you able to fall back asleep easily? Fragmentation matters. 5 brief awakenings may not be that relevant, but 2 long awakenings can destroy cycles. Number 3, what time do you wake? And is it consistent? Because variability shifts circadian alignment. So one can conceptualize this as individuals being effectively jet-lagged without traveling. The circadian rhythms are all over the place. Number 4, do you snore, gasp, or wake with a dry mouth or headache? This could signal obstructive sleep apnea, especially if it occurs with daytime sleepiness. And number 5, daytime markers. Do you feel sleepy when you're inactive? Do you need naps? Do you crash mid-afternoon? That pattern often points to architecture issues rather than motivation sometimes. So these questions give us a broad idea about sleep being affected. But you might ask me, well, how do I know if my cycles are being affected? Well, here is a cycle test. You can try this for a week. Step 1, choose a consistent wake time. It doesn't have to be perfect, just consistent. Step 2, count backwards in 90-minute blocks to pick a bedtime window. 90 minutes because we're thinking about the 90 to 120-minute cycles that occur during sleep. Most people do better waking at the end of a cycle than waking mid-cycle. You know the feeling when you kind of in the morning sort of wake up and you just needed that little bit extra to feel refreshed. You don't need a wearable. This is a behavioral probe. Step 3, protect the first half of the night because deep non-REM sleep is front-loaded and this is the restorative, refreshing sleep. That means reduce bright light in the last hour. You can use blue light blocking glasses, cooler room, avoid late alcohol. Keep the pre-sleep period predictable because the brain likes predictability. And then observe 2 things. Do you wake with more cognitive strength? And 2, do you need less push to start the day? So with these changes, if the answer is yes, cycles were likely part of the problem. If the answer is no, that's when you consider a formal sleep evaluation or medical review. This isn't about self-diagnosis. It's about ensuring that one's able to get a broad evaluation and target the systems that need to be targeted. Because evaluation of insomnia is not just a generic evaluation. It is a specialist field and requires a thoughtful evaluation and treatment process. So before we end the video, let me give you 3 tools that improve sleep cycles. 3 really practical tools. They work because they match physiology. The first, light timing. Bright light early, first thing in the morning, helps the circadian rhythm. Dim light late supports melatonin release and deeper early night sleep. 2, temperature. A warm shower followed by a cooler room helps the core temperature drop. That supports sleep onset and depth. Number 3, consistency over intensity. We don't need perfect habits. We need stable cues, wake time, light, and wind down. If you're a clinician, we've covered sleep medicine and psychiatry in a lot more detail in the Academy by Psychiatry through our courses here. So let's recap all of this. First, the brain runs sleep in cycles. It's not one continuous state. Number 2, deep NREM sleep supports the restoration of baseline alertness and cognitive control. Number 3, REM sleep supports emotional calibration and cognitive flexibility. Number 4, if cycles fragment, daytime symptoms can mimic psychiatric syndromes. And number 5, a simple cycle-aware approach, the one we covered earlier, is often the quickest way to decide whether you need behavioral changes, medical evaluation, or both. So if there's one thing to remember from this video, it's this. When we want energy during the day, don't just ask, what can I take to stimulate the brain? Ask if the brain completed its tasks that it was meant to complete. Because the strongest stimulant most people will ever experience is not a substance, it's deep cycled sleep. If you like this video or found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, stay curious. Bye-bye.